Hello professor, hope you are doing well. My name is Ramtin and my student ID is 1014192226. I'm gonna go through my first assignment, just point out what I've done in this assignment and how did I code this project. So first of all, as I mentioned, the comments, my name is student ID and lab professor. I'm defining a function and I'm gonna explain each function after which is being called. So here's my function menu page, which is gonna be called at the very first. Then I'm defining another function menu, which has these like hard-coded names for each option. So in here, I'm defining a width variable to 50. Then I'm printing 50 dashes. Just because of that structure of how this menu page is gonna be shown. And then I'm going through each index in my menu function, which is here, which is gonna be each of these options. And then I'm printing out one pipeline at the very first and one pipeline at the very last. Then in here, I'm printing the index with the width of width -2. And what is this for? Why is this for? Because each pipeline gets actually one kind of width. So I'm decrementing the width -2 to tell to this project to get you can assign 48 spaces for each of these indexes. Then I'm printing another dash, 50 dashes. Now I'm assigning these two variables in here just because if the user input out of range of 0 to 5, I want to keep iterating through this while loop. Otherwise, if the valid turns to true, it will jump out of this while loop. So I'm asking for the user's choice, then I'm assigning it to user option. If the user option was between 0 to 5, I'm turning the valid variable to true so that this while loop will not be true anymore, then it will be jump out. Otherwise, this valid will not change to true and it will iterate through this while loop. So in here, if the user option is 1, it will call create employee and so on. So I'm gonna go through create employee first. I assign the employee list in here, which is empty for now. Oh, I was supposed to run these so I can show you at the very last how it works. Okay, so it called create employee. In here, I'm defining my create employee function. And it's while loop, which I'm gonna explain why did I make this while loop afterward. But I'm defining employee ID variable. Then I'm calling this function get valid input ID. And why is this for? Because each of these inputs had some limitations or restrictions that I had to follow. So I had to make these functions to have some filter for users input. Then I'm gonna go through each of these functions to explain why did I make each of these. So get valid input ID has a prompt as a parameter. Then I'm getting the user's input and assigning it to user input variable. Then I'm checking in here if user put no, it doesn't matter whether uppercase or lowercase, because I'm gonna change it to lowercase either case. Then I'm returning none, and then it will jump out of this function. If user did not put anything, I'm checking it with not user input. Then it shows that user's input is empty. What continue does, go through this while loop again and again and again. First, it prints this message. input cannot be empty. Then it goes through continue, so it means it starts from while and it gets the user's input again. Now I'm trying if the user input is integer. If it's integer, it's good. It will assign it to this user input. Otherwise, it shows the input must be a number. Then I have continue again. It starts from the beginning. Then at the very last filter, I want to check if the employee ID already exists in my employee list. So it will go through each element and it will check the very first index of each element to whether the user's input is equal to my first index of any of my elements or not. If there was any same ID, I have to show this ID already exists. So you have to put any like other ID which is not already in my employee list. So after all my filters are done and the user's input was valid, I am returning user input. When I return user input, we'll come over here. It will assign it to employee ID. If the employee ID was none, it means that user's input was no for whatever reason. I'm gonna break the whole loop. So it will jump out and it will not ask any of the following questions from the user. So I'm going through get valid input name. Get valid input name, the filters was first, then no. If it was empty, and that's it. Like there was not much filters for get valid input name, so I already explained these. I'm not gonna go through them once again. Get valid input type, which will check if the employee is manager or just an hourly employee. First it checks if it's no, so it returns no. Then it checks if it's empty. Then I'm gonna check whether the user's input is manager. It doesn't matter uppercase or lowercase because I'm gonna change it to lowercase in any case. If it's manager, return. If it's hourly, return. If it wasn't any of these, it means the user's input was invalid. So I'm gonna put a continue at the very end, and I'm gonna ask the user again and again till I reach to either manager or employee, which are the right answers. So get valid input years. First check. If it was no, return no. If it was empty, input cannot be empty. So it has to be number because logically it's years, so it has to be number. If it was number, I'm gonna return it. Otherwise, input must be a number. Continue. Get valid input discount number. I'm gonna ask the user to put just the discount number for me. I'm getting the user's input. Check if it's no, return no. Check if it's empty. Input cannot be empty. Then assigning the integer input to user input. Otherwise, input must be a number. Then I'm going to go through my employee list again for each element and for each, like the sixth index of each element to see if the discount number already exists in my employee list. If it was, it has to show to the user that this discount number already exists. Please input another discount number. Or if it was not, I'm gonna just return it. So in here, I already after all this process, I returned all my variables, all the user's input to these new variables that I assigned in here. I think I forgot to run these. Okay. So after I got all these variables, I'm gonna append it to the employee list. A new employee in my employee list with all these variables. So what are these two? These are total purchase and total discount number. as we were supposed to put 0 for the very first employee, because technically and logically there is no total purchase and total discount when there was no employee. So I assigned it to 0. Then printing the new employee successfully added to the list. I'm asking the user, would you like to add another employee? Enter yes to do so, otherwise you can input anything. If the user's input is yes, I'm gonna recall my create employee function, which will come over here and start asking the user again. If not, I'm gonna ask, would you like to go back to menu? If the user's answer was yes, I'm gonna call menu page, which is gonna go all the way up and shows this menu again. Otherwise, I'm gonna just call the function exists, which is a built-in function in Python. Then I'm assigning just the items variable array actually. Then I'm defining the function getValidItemID, getValidItemName, and getValidItemCost. Same as like get for employee, there are some filters for items, which I'm gonna go through each one of these and explain. Here is my create item function. When this is called, I'm asking the users, please enter the number of your item, which I mean like kind of the ID of your item, and it uses this function in here, which I defined it all the way up here. Then again I'm checking if the user's input was no, return no, none. If the user's input was empty, please continue. Go through this function again. If the user's input was integer, please assign it, otherwise show an error. Please, input must be a number. Then I'm gonna check if the items ID already exists in my items list. If it already exists, I'm gonna show an error message and then break. Otherwise, I'm gonna return it. Then getValidItemName function, which gets a prompt, the input prompt, which will be assigned to user input. If user input done, like these are all same, otherwise I'm gonna return it. Item cost has this filter, and again if it's function, if it's number, it's gonna return it, otherwise it's gonna show an error message. After I got all these 3 answers from the user, I'm gonna assign it to these variables, and then I'm gonna append it to my items list to make a new item with all its information. I'm gonna show the item is successfully added. Then I'm gonna ask the user, would you like to add another item? If the user's answer was yes, I'm gonna recall my create item function. Then it goes through the user's input again and again. Otherwise, I'm gonna ask, would you like to go back to menu? If the user's answer was yes, I'm gonna call menu page, or if the user's answer was anything else, I'm gonna exit. By the way, this function is gonna be called if the user over here input 2, so that this function is called. I'm gonna go through these 2 functions. Just not to forget to run these. So my all employees function, what it does for, again, I assigned the width variable for 140 because I wanted to go through this like structure of like separating the employee ID and like employees information via pipeline, using pipeline. So I'm assigning column width just to width //7, and the difference is like if it has only one backslash, it's gonna return float, so it's gonna be like this, even if it was only an integer. When it has two backslashes, it's gonna return an integer, even if my number was a float, it's gonna return just an integer. That's why I used this one. Then I'm printing all my employees information. And how it works is saying just make sure that your column width for each of these columns be less than 7. So you have a space to put this pipeline as well. So it's going to be less than 7, put a pipeline. Less than 7, put a pipeline. It goes all the way down. Then I'm going to go through my employees list again, and then I'm gonna print out each employee's information. So this is just a hard code, but in here they are all like employees information. So after I showed the user all the employees which are currently exist in my employee list variable or array, I'm gonna ask the user, would you like to go to the menu to choose any other option? If yes, I'm gonna call it. Otherwise, I'm gonna jump out. Then I just define these two functions to make purchase and calculate discount, because if the user wants to make any purchase, it has to go through the employees information and items information, so that you can first find out how much discount the current employee has. So the way it works, I first assign the variable, like define the variable years work discount and what it does in the third index. So it was mentioned, please like add 2% discount for each year that the employee has been working, and do not assign like more than 10% discount for each employee. So if it was even like the employees, if they go like the years worked was more than 5 years for each employee, it's gonna be maximum 10% discount. So in here I use the minimum function. It's gonna choose the minimum side of this column in here. So that if the employee's years was less than 5, so that after multiplying by this 2%, it's gonna be less than 10%. So for example, if the employee's years was 3 years, it's gonna multiply it by this 2%, it's gonna be 6%. So in comparison to 6% and 10%, it's gonna choose 6%. But if the employee's years was like 7 years, it's gonna be 14%. So in comparison between 10% to 14%, it's gonna choose 10%. So this is how it works. Then I'm gonna find out if the employee was manager or not, which like it means else means hourly. So if it was manager, I'm gonna assign like the 10%, another 10% to my manager discount variable, otherwise 2%. Total discount is defined and it's made from addition of years work discount plus manager discount. So at the very maximum, if there was a manager and the manager has been working for that company for more than 5 years, it's gonna reach to the maximum discount, which would be like 20%. So after finding out what would be the total discount, I have another filter that I'm gonna find out if the total discount for that employee was more than $200. If it was more than $200, there is no discount, so the employee will not be eligible for getting any more discount. So I'm gonna just reassign it to 0. Otherwise, it's gonna just pass this, and the total discount will remain as it was before. I'm just gonna return it in either case. I'm defining a make purchase function, and first I'm gonna show all the items information. Then I'm gonna go through each item to, like, this is just a hard code, and then these are all the items information that I currently have in my items list. Then I'm asking the user, please enter your employee discount number. Then I'm gonna check if this discount number already exists. Please go through once again so the user input another discount number, otherwise I'm just gonna break because I already got like the discount number. So in here I can find out which employee is being selected, like which employee is trying to purchase something. Then I'm gonna ask that a specific employee to please enter the number of the item you're interested in, and it means the item's ID. I'm gonna check if that item's ID already exists, which sounds good. Otherwise, I'm gonna say this is like I don't have this item that you're looking for, invalid item number. At the very end, I'm just gonna confirm the purchase. If the user, I just want to make sure and double check if the user wants to continue for like purchasing that item. It's gonna have to input yes. So if the answer was yes, I'm just gonna assign, like, find out what would be the discount for that employee and what would be the cost of the item that the employee is looking for. Then I'm just gonna find out how much would be the last price. So the way it works is just item cost multiplied by employee discount. Then I'm gonna just decrement it from item cost. I will find out how much would be the cost of the item that employee wants to purchase. Then I'm just gonna show the discount for the employee was this amount, the cost was this amount, and the last price that the employee paid would be this amount. And then in here I'm just updating the 5th and 4th index, which was for total discount and total purchase, because I need them in the next and following purchases. I'm just gonna update these employees' information. So at the following purchase, I can find out how much discount the employee already got, and how much was the total purchase of that employee. Then I'm just gonna ask, would you like to continue with a new purchase? If the user's answer was yes, I'm gonna recall this function. Otherwise, I'm just gonna show all the employees once again. And so the difference between these two else's, if the user goes through the purchase, I'm gonna show all the employees at the very end. Even if the user didn't go to the purchase, didn't confirm the purchase, I'm gonna show these information once again. Like, what's the reason that you don't want to confirm the purchase? So would you like to continue with a new purchase? You changed your mind? I'm just gonna recall it. Otherwise, I'm gonna show all the employees. And this is it. I'm just gonna call my project as well. Go through it very quickly. So I didn't want to input that one. Create employee. Input must be a number. Enter your name. Employee type. If there is anything else, invalid input. Input must invalid input. Hourly. Number of years you have worked here. 98. The new employee successfully added. We'll add another employee. No. Would you like to go back to the menu? So even if I put all uppercase, it's gonna go. Create item. Number of the item. So I'm just gonna add the first item because I'm the first user in here. The name of the item, just watch. How much would be your item cost? $90. Item is successfully added. Would you like to add another item to the list? No. Would you like to go back to the menu? Yes, please. Enter your choice. I want to make a purchase. Employee discount number. There is no discount number, so whatever I put. Employee discount number. Oh, so there was one discount number. What did I put? Over here, enter the desired discount. I put 98. Sorry, 98. So this program found out what employee is looking for this, like is looking to purchase something, and it is me because it's only me. Enter the number of the item you're interested in. So if I put 4, it's gonna show invalid item number because there is no item which has the item ID 4. There's only one. Confirm the purchase. I'm gonna confirm it. Would you like to? So here shows the discount for the employees. This amount. Item cost before discount was 90 and now it is 79.2. With a new purchase, no. So in here shows all my information and also updated my employee purchase and employee discount, so it can find out how much discount that they currently have. So if this exceeds 200, I'm not gonna be eligible for getting any new discount. I'm just gonna put yes and 5, and here it is.